You are me. We are them. I am free.
We begin life with the world simply presenting itself to us. A reality that is open to individual interpretation. But then, at a very early age, we are taught to perceive things in a certain predetermined and socially acceptable way. The process begins first at home, where we are influenced by the beliefs, the attitudes, and the behaviour of our parents and siblings. And then, as soon as we are old enough to be capable of independent thought, and have gained an acceptable degree of communication skills, we are immediately placed within a tightly controlled education system, to then begin a process where our minds are carefully and deliberately moulded into a particular way of thinking. A process where little or no deviation from conformity is tolerated. Through a system of constant repetition, we are then taught that the world functions in a certain way. And we are only considered to be functional ourselves when we believe and are able to repeat without question that which has been taught to us during our time within the system. Throughout the entirety of our scholastic years, any independent thought is frowned upon. And instilled into each and every student is the belief that our success within the system is wholly dependent upon our ability to regurgitate on command that which has been taught to us. And we are told that upon leaving the education system, our path through life and our standing in reality itself will be determined entirely upon how economically viable our personal endeavours are. We are taught that it is only through profit and through continual financial gain that our personal success will be measured. We are taught that we must either work for someone or we must strive to gain a position in society where someone else will work for us. But either way, all must work. We are essentially taught to be slaves who will spend the majority of life in the pursuit of paper or of digital credits. And through our belief that this system is real, we find ourselves living within a society that has been structured in such a way that were we not to dedicate our time to the accumulation of such things, then all that nature has provided for us, all that nature has provided freely for the benefit of all, will remain forever out of reach. Yet in pursuing such goals in the belief that doing so will enrich our lives, all we do is give power to the meme that enslaves us. And the price we ultimately pay is the connection we once had to the world around us. The price we ultimately pay is life itself. The entire educational, financial, legal, political and social systems that modern human beings are subject to from the moment of birth are all structured with a singularity of purpose: to perpetuate the meme. These systems are designed to ensure that each individual is kept locked into a left brain understanding of the world, is kept disconnected from the reality around them, and that each individual grows into adulthood with the understanding that the meaning of life is the one with the most wins. But life is not a board game, and there is far more going on in the world around them than most people ever realise, because there is far more going on around them than that which can be perceived by the five senses. In fact, there is an entire language and an entirely different way of communicating with creation that is readily available to all. Only due to the solely left brain perception of reality that has been forced upon them since birth, most people do not even realise such things exist. And it has been so long since most of humanity accessed and used these higher senses that they've simply forgotten the language.
When you look at the brain, it's obvious that the two cerebral cortices are completely separate from one another. Our right hemisphere functions like a parallel processor, while our left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. Because they process information differently, each of our hemispheres think about different things, they care about different things, and dare I say, they have very different personalities. Our right hemisphere, it thinks in pictures, and it learns kinesthetically through the movement of our bodies. Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems, and then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, smells like, and tastes like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. I am an energy being connected to the energy all around me through the consciousness of my right hemisphere. My left hemisphere, our left hemisphere, is a very different place. Our left hemisphere thinks linearly and methodically. Our left hemisphere is all about the past, and it's all about the future. Our left hemisphere is designed to take that enormous collage of the present moment and start picking out details, and more details about those details. It then categorizes and organizes all that information, associates it with everything in the past we've ever learned, and projects into the future all of our possibilities. And our left hemisphere thinks in language. It's that ongoing brain chatter that connects me and my internal world to my external world. But perhaps most important, it's that little voice that says to me, I am. I am. And as soon as my left hemisphere says to me, I am, I become separate. I become a single, solid individual, separate from the energy flow around me and separate from you.
We have up here just an entire colony of bees creating some type of amazing magnetic force field around this tree, and this tree is transmitting whatever that is to the ground that I'm sitting on. Whatever this language is that's coming from all these insects, all these species, to and from the earth, back and forth, it's incredible, and the amount of communication that goes into it. We still, for some reason, think that we are the center of the universe, even though we try to pretend that we're not. Somehow we think that everything that happens around here, all the species, they have whatever scientific evidence that we understand. These species pollinate this, those species do this, do that, and the other. And as long as we take care of the species that we need, as long as we take care of all the ecosystems that will sustain us as humanity on this earth, then we'll be fine. Without understanding that if you were to look at it as this spherical spider web, 360 degrees, we're just a small little portion of it. And yeah, maybe a couple 100,000, maybe a million threads or webs would contact us. But when you branch it out and you understand that this entire web is connected to another spot, and there's 100,000 pieces that connect to that, 100,000 pieces that connect to the one down here, and overall, they're all connected in some way, shape, or form. So if you remove one because you don't think it's important enough, we seem to think it's insignificant because there's no direct impact on us. But I think that's such an illegitimate way of looking at it, because how could you say that any of this is not profound? How could you say any of it is insignificant when in the long run, it's not by a random occurrence that species grow in certain areas. It's not by a random occurrence that there are certain animal species in certain areas, certain plants in certain areas, and they all develop this massive ecosystem that feeds each other. How can we not say that specific ecosystems feed other specific ecosystems? How can we not say that the oceans are important to the deserts? How can we not say that all insects and species are important to plant life, important to mineral life? So, in a sense like that, just taking in all of these species that we see around us, taking in absolutely everything that we may not even see within that, the communication between them, we only see it from our perspective, but there has to be thousands, maybe millions, maybe infinite more methods of communication, some type of dialogue between these species and one another. And maybe we don't hear that because it's not necessary for us to. But to respect it, I think respect is one of the most important languages that we've lost, and I think love is the most important language that we've lost.
Ancient man had always had a symbiotic relationship with nature and interacted with his surroundings with a degree of understanding and communication that many people of modern times find difficult to even comprehend, let alone exercise. Yet, for most of humanity, this symbiotic relationship has now long since disappeared, and the language of nature has been all but forgotten. What happened? What was it that caused man to become so disconnected from the earth? And if civilization continues to follow its present course, how further disconnected are we likely to yet become?
As we merge with machines, and I think it's inevitable that we will transform into something new.